Shiur today is dedicated to Ilui Nishmosai from the She'er Besori, Abocher, Reb Shloime, Ben Sora Aliza Sorotzkin. It was Nistalik Lebeis Eloma this week. He was a Yochid Umeyuchid. And this shiur should be Le'ilui Nishmosai Ulezichrei. I'd like to start today the Psukim in Sefer Yehoshua. And I would like to read a few psukim, but with reading the few psukim, I would like to, we will go back a shtickle to Yehoshua bin Nun, Hakdama, to what we spoke about last week. Just 1 second, I just have to get my sform in place. ויהי אחרי מוישה עבד השם ויאמר השם אל יהושע בן נון משורש מוישה לאמור מוישה עבדי מייס ועתו קום עבורס הירדן עתו וכל העם הזה לארץ אשר הנויסן לכם לבני ישראל כל מוקם אשר תדרך כף רגלכם בוי לכם נשאתיו כאשר דיברתי אל מוישה. I'd like to skip to Pasuk Hey. Lo yisyatzev ish lefonecha kol yemei chayecha kasher isi Moshe yeimoch lo yarpecha velo yeezveko. I'd like to skip to Pasuk Zayin. Rak chazak ve'ematz me'oid lishmoil la'asois kechol ha'torah asher tzivcha Moshe avdi al tosu mimenu yominu smoil leman taskil b'chol asher teilech. Thereafter, Pasuk Yud Gimel and Yud Daled, the very same Perakal of Zocher es Hadovar asher tziva eschem Moshe Eved Hashem le'emor Hashem Elokeichem meniach lochem v'nosan lochem es ha'oretz hazois nesheichem tapchem u'mikneichem yeshvu ba'oretz asher nosan lochem Moshe be'ever hayarden v'atem Tavru chamushim lifnei acheichem kol giboyre achayil v'azartem oisam. Then Pasuk Tezvov, Ad asher yoniach Hashem la'acheichem kochem v'yorshu gam hem es ha'oretz asher Hashem Elokeichem noisen lohem v'shavtem le'eretz Yerushatzchem v'yirashtem oiso asher nosan lochem Moshe Eved Hashem be'ever hayarden mizrach hashemesh. And the last Pasuk Yud Zayin, one before the last Pasuk, ככל אשר שמענו אל מוישה כנשמע אליך רק יהיה השם אלוקיך עמך כאשר היה עם מוישה. Rashi, the very first Rashi focuses on the words ויהי אחרי מוישה מחובר על סדר התורה המסיימס בפטירס מוישה וזה מחובר לו. Rashi is somewhat puzzled with the Vov HaChibur of Sifrei HaNeviim to Sefer HaTorah. And Rashi says that it's mechuber al seder haTorah mesayemes. Very interesting. Moshe Rabbeinu is mentioned 11 times in the first parak in Sefer Yehoshua. If I look at the whole Torah from Parsha Shmois till V'zois HaBracha, Moshe Rabbeinu is mentioned. There's a story. Probably as part of you people heard the story. Some professor from Bar Ilan University came to Reb Chaim Kanievsky and he asked him, Kvod Harav, Kama pa'amim uzkar Moshe Rabbeinu b'Torah? How many times is Moshe mentioned in the Torah? So Reb Chaim picked up his head, thought for 10 seconds, and he told him, 614 times. Says, Kvod Harav toeh, excusez moi, it's not 614, it's 616. So Chaim tells them, V'im imat habayis miyois miseh, v'kol baal mashe yodoi, one in Korban Pesach and one in Shemitah, sinisht Moshe, si miseh un mashe. du's geguckt auf der Computer, hast du gemeint, dass sie da 616, oder Emes Yere Darko is da noch 614. That kind of story. Emes is more than 616, just for clarity's sake, because this is people looking only for Moshe per se. But it says Be Moshe, it says Ke Moshe, it says Le Moshe, it says Mi Moshe. So there are more. There's approximately another 45 times. But the name Moshe, singular Moshe, it says, there's no other parak in Torah that the name Moshe is mentioned so frequently, like in the very beginning of Sefer Yehoshua. Alei Davaru. You know, the Shaila who made the prokim on the Torah is Bechlal Shaila, if it's Bechlal Jewish Chalukah, because the Chalukah, our Chalukah of Baalei HaMesirah is Chalukah of Pashas Psuchas and Pashas Tumes. Pashas is not even a Jewish Chalukah. But whatever the prokim are, there are never such a frequency in one Parsha Psuchos Tume, in one perek of Moshe Rabbeinu's name. So Moshe is all over the very first perek of Yeshua, and we have to understand why. So in order to do that, I would like to read with you a Gemara. The Gemara in Baba Basri and Daf Yudal on the base, the Gemara says, Yeshua, the Gemara goes through each author of each one of the 24 Nevi'im in the 24 Sforim in the Torah. So Moshe Rabbeinu Kosav Sifroi Pashas Bilom, and then Yeshua Kosav Sifroi V'Shmoine Psukim Shebetoyer. Yeshua is the one who wrote his Sefer Yehoshua, and the last 8 Psukim in the Torah were also written by Yeshua Binun. The Gemara Menachos in Daf Lamed Amud Aleph, the Gemara comes along, the Gemara says, Keman az leho Omar Abishua Barabba Omar Rav Gidlo Marav Shmoyne Psukim Shebatoyo Yochid Koyer Oisom Bebeis HaKnesses. The last 8 Psukim in the Torah Yochid Koyer Oisom. There's a machlekes, 4-way machlekes Rishonim. What does it mean Yochid Koyer Oisom? Does it mean that only one person get Aliyah on the last 8 Psukim? The last 8 Psukim, Parsha V'Zois HaBrocha, discussing the death of Moshe Rabbeinu, the last 8 Psukim, Yochid Koyer Oisom. What does that mean? Does it mean that you don't give Aliyah, you don't stop and give Aliyah to 2 different people? Does it mean that the Shliach Tzibur is not Koyer together, Baal Koyer is not Koyer together with the person, those days, the person who used to read, he used to be Oil HaTorah, used to read, only himself? Does it mean that you don't need a minyan according to the Rambam Shita? If he's Chilu Goymim, there's Allah in every time he creates HaTorah, Dover Shebekdusha, if there's 10 people begin, you don't need. But they are unique and special. Why? Why are those last 8 psukim in the Torah so unique and special? So the command the like Rabbi Shimon. The Tanya Vayomos Moshe Eved Hashem. Efshe Moshe Chai V'Kosav Vayomos Sham Moshe. You look in the Torah. It says Vayomos Sham Moshe Eved Hashem. Does Moshe write about himself Vayomos Sham Moshe? Impossible. Elo Ad Kan Kosav Moshe. Mikan Vo'elach Kosav Yehoshua Binun. The one, the author of the last 8 psukim in the Torah discussing the death of Moshe is not Moshe Rabbeinu, but Yehoshua Binu. So the Gemara, Omar le Rabbi Shimon, Efshar seveter chosav v'isachas v'ksiv lo koyach hasefer haTorah hazeh v'samtem Moshe. How could you say that? Moshe Rabbeinu says lo koyach hasefer haTorah hazeh. If Moshe did not write it, Moshe stopped, and Yehoshua came thereafter and completed the 8 psukim discussing the death of Moshe. How could Moshe say it? V'asheker mipiv, says the Rishonim. L'koyach hasefer haTorah hazeh, impossible. Elo, ad kan HaKadosh Baruch Hu oimer u'Moshe koisev oimer v'koisev. Different girsas. Mikan v'oilach HaKadosh Baruch Hu oimer u'Moshe koisev bedema. So Rashi learns, what does it mean Moshe koisev bedema? Moshe wrote it. But the entire Torah Moshe is writing with a diyai, with a tint, with an ink. The last 8 psukim, instead of Moshe writing with the ink, he was crying. He's talking about his own death. And taking the dmois and writing, Moshe can write even when Moshe Rabbeinu is alive. It's not really written in tint. So you found for both questions. You answered up both questions. Moshe is the author, therefore it says, you're wrong. You, Rabbi Yehuda, you're wrong saying that Yeshua wrote him. Moshe wrote him, And Moshe wrote them bedema with ink, not with ink, but with tears. And the writing with tears, you could write even when he's alive, and mainly it's considered Lokech Sefer Torah Sefer Shom. You do him Divrei HaGoyen, and it deserves a shiur b'fnei atzmoi. Maybe we'll get to the end of Sefer Yehoshua, we'll discuss the Goyen. But the Goyen tells zu der Ramban in Hakdome to the Torah, that be'emes the Torah was nivra oisi shamayim v'oretz istakel b'oraisa bora alme tov kufayin daled doros before the world was created. And it says the stories, the future stories of Adam and Chava, Yitzias Mitzrayim, Moshe Rabbeinu. It's no such a thing. Zog the Goyen, the Torah was written as one long word, composed of the shemes, of the names of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The way the Torah was written prior to Moshe Rabbeinu, dissecting it and fragmenting it to oisias words, psukim, was one long word, which was tzirufim of the shem of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Moshe came, and when he brought down the Torah, he wrote the Torah in words the way we see the Torah today. This was until the last 8 psukim. The last 8 psukim says the guy, it's not really a machlekes. They both agree to each other. Bedema. Do you know what the word dema means? Dema means mela'acho v'dim'acho lo'isa'acher. It's berebuvia. It's mu'urav. Moshe was kaisa bedema. He took the pre-creation Torah, which was tziruf of the Shemesh HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and he wrote it down the very same way. So whoever knows to Yodai, the Mitzalel knew to the Mitzaref Oisei Shamayim V'Oretz could read what it says. But for the naked eye of Klal Yisrael, they couldn't read what it says. It was one long word. That was bedema. Bedema means me'urav, medumo, like meduma. It's all mixed up. Yeshua is the one who went and dissected it and cut it and sliced it to words the way we read the Torah of Vayomas Moshe Eved Hashem. So this is the last 8 psukim in the Torah. So Yeshua is really the author. Either he is the author, the first Mandoma wants to say that he wrote it Legansen, second Mandoma doesn't buy it, and therefore the second Mandoma, we would like to stick to the Derech HaGoyen. Moshe wrote it, he wrote it in the Dema, and Yeshua went and made it into psukim and oisies and words, which is well understood. That's exactly the way we read the Torah today. Besides that, Yeshua is writing his own Sefer. So Yeshua, this connection, this Moshe Rabbeinu's Ruach is here. Although Moshe Rabbeinu died, just for clarity's sake, this week was Zion Adar. Moshe Rabbeinu dies in the way we said last week, Beis Alof in Tov Pei Ches, the 40th year after going out of Mitzrayim. Moshe Rabbeinu dies on Zion Adar. And that year, Adar was not Mole, was not Ibra year, was a regular year. Yeshua takes over, he crosses the Yarden, as we're going to see soon, on Yud Nisan, which is 33 days later. 30 days HaKadosh Baruch Hu does not talk to him because Eina Shechina Shoira Mitoich Atzvus Vayivku Kol Adas Bnei Yisrael Osmeish Shleishim Yom, he doesn't get it. And here, after 30, 31, 32, 33, we'll see it the 3 of Machlekes. According to the Goyen, he started on Ches. According to the Radak, he started on Tes. According to Rashi, the being right, Rashi only on the day Kodesh Baruch Hu talks to Yeshua the night before Yud. But in any event, there's a 30-day vacancy between the departure of Moshe Lishmei Meroimim and the commencement of Yeshua's Anhogo leadership and Nevuah to Klal Yisrael. Moshe Rabbeinu is here. Moshe Rabbeinu is involved in the entire parak. The transition between Moshe and Yeshua is telling us, Vayehi, Yeshua was the one who already was, mitam gegemash mektabek, as they say in Yiddish. They gave him a little smelly 8 psukim shebetoyre that he was the author, and he continues, and Moshe Rabbeinu's ruach, and we're going to see that in the next shiurim, is merachefes al pnei, the tchilas ha'anhoga of Yeshua. And therefore, in every pasuk where there is a practical tzivui, in Perek Aleph, Moshe Rabbeinu is indeed mentioned. Why is Moshe pick on Yeshua? What's so special about Yeshua? So I would like to learn with you today, and that's really today's topic. What is Yeshua so special? Truth of the matter, somebody learns Chumash, Apostle Yingel Cheder, You learn Chumash. It says, Vayova Amalek at the end of Pasha B'Shal, Vaylochem Yisrael B'Refidim. Amalek comes and he starts a war with Klal Yisrael in Refidim. Vayomer Moshe LeYeshua, Bechar Lonu Anoshim, V'tzei Vaylochem Ba'Amalek, Mocha Anochi Nitzav Al Rosh Hagiva, U'Mater Elikim B'Yodi. Who's Yeshua? You ever hear about him? Anybody heard of Yeshua ben Nun prior to this? No. He's here. He's his Talmud. Rashi tells us where he says, Bechar Lonu Anoshim, Lonu, Ishvo li v'lecho, Ishvo uloi. Moshe Rabbeinu, who is the manik of Klal Yisrael, takes him out of Mitzrayim. Makis, Kriyas Yamsuf, he takes him here to bring him to Matan Torah, takes this unknown UFO, we don't know about him, never heard of him. He is the one who is becoming Shoveloi. They are exactly equal. What is so special about Yeshua ben Nun that he is right away lifted up, a man from nowhere, a Talmud who becomes equal to Moshe Rabbeinu? If you look at the Milchama, is a very, very, very simple division between the functions in each of one of them, of Moshe and Yeshua in Milchemes Amalek. והיה כאשר יורי מוישה סיוד וגובר ישראל כאשר יניח יוד וגובר עמלק ויהי יודו ומונו הבוי השמש ויחל איש ישוע אס עמלק ואס עמו לפי חורב. There is a double war. There is a spiritual war. There is a physical war. Moshe Rabbeinu is making miracles. ויהי יודו ומונו, he picks up his hands, and that's a Milchama. In the second, he doesn't have koyach, Aaron v'chur, mizeh u'mizeh, they don't have the time, the hands are falling down, they're losing the battle. Who is the guy, who is the person on the battlefield, coming in on the battlefield from, who is actually doing the Milchama? That's Yeshua ben Nun. So we have a joint venture of a spiritual and physical war between Klal Yisrael and Amalek. Well, let's just take a picture of what's happening. Yeshua is 42. I mean, we're talking about right by Matan Torah, as we spoke about last week. Moshe Rabbeinu is 80 years old. Moshe Rabbeinu is 80 years old. Moshe Rabbeinu right now, we're talking about by Milchemes Amalek, Moshe Rabbeinu is 80 years old. And the two of them, the older man, the elderly man of 80, and the youngster of 42, are making a joint venture Milchama in order to be loichem Milchemes Amalek. Why is Yeshua? What's Yeshua so special? I just want to tell you. Milchemes Amalek takes place, as we said, 10 days before Matan Torah. At the end of Chodesh Iyar, in the year that came out of Mitzrayim. Klal Yisrael is in the uplifted madrege of Roa So Shifcho Al Hayom Asher Liroi Yecheskel Ben Buzi, who the Ramban calls G'dol HaNevim Al Maris HaNevuah Nehar Kvar. So they're not lacking any Nevim, Bnei Nevim. Every single one of Klal Yisrael were in madrege that they had such a Gilui Shechina in Kriyas Yamsuf just a month ago. And from deswegen, Afal Pichein, notwithstanding the above, Yeshua is the one who is chosen. Why? What's so special about Yeshua? And that's really the topic today. We're going to try as much as we could to focus on the uniqueness of Yeshua. You know, could you go back a little history? Avraham, Yitzchak, Yankov. Yankov has 12 children. Everybody knows. Yosef goes down to Mitzrayim, one of the 12 tribes. He makes a shidduch. Who does he marry? Vayisen lo Paroyes Osnas bas Potifera. I got news for you. Potifera and his wife Zlika did not have children. He was an Okar and Akar. Before Shin Chazal, Bekama Mekaims. Who is Osnas? So I'm going to tell you something which is mind-boggling, which is brought down in a few midrashim in Pikat Abelazar, but I would like to quote Afenort, the Chizkuni, who tells us the story. It says like this: When Dina goes to Shechem ben Chamor, from that story there is a pregnancy created. Okay, she didn't want to go out of the house of Shechem, and Shimon, her brother, came to salvage to get her out of being in the house of Shechem. Nishbo lo kofatz ve'nishbo. He's going to marry. He marries her, and they have a child of their own called Shol ben Aknanis, as Rashi says in Parshas Vayigash. But from this relationship of Shechem ben Chamor and Dinah was born a baby girl called Osnas. The baby is brought to Yaakov Avinu in the house. Come Shimon and Levi and say, we get to bring this bitter fruit to our house, to Yaakov Avinu's house? No way. Out. Escape. Throw her out. I'm reading the Loshen HaChezkuni. Vayiten lo es Osnas bas Potifer hu Potifa kepo shepirish Rashi the isa b'midrash bas Dino mishchem hoiso ubikshu lehorgo bnei Yaakov Avinu bo Yaakov Avinu v'tola lo komio b'tzavaro. He took a kameya from metal, a tablet. He wrote Bas Yisrael Shiur on her neck. He put in a undividable kameya to be straight hanging on her. V'gir shomi beisoi v'echbia atzmo ben hakoitzim v'abarkonim. She had to hide amongst the koitzim v'abarkonim. V'al shem hasneh, she was hiding in the sneh, nikras osnas. Bo Gavriel amalach ve'avia leMitzrayim lefnei Eishes Potifa v'gidalto. Shebo yoytzef leMitzrayim yotzu kol anoshim liroisa machmas yoifyoi ki dichsiv bono isado alei shur v'kol achas zerekas leichefetz etachshit. Yosef comes to Mitzrayim. She is brought up by Potiphar and his wife Zlika, but it's not a real physical biological child. She is an adopted child. Gavriel brought her to Mitzrayim. Shiloh, who was a shatran according to Ramban, Yosef was mishadech through Parah. Parah is the one who took her from the orphanage, but they brought her in to Potiphar to become a baby. And when they all go, Yosef goes, Merkeves HaMishneh, Mishnah Lamelech, all the girls, Shteit and Rashi brings down Chazal, Bonei Tzado Alei Shur, everybody threw the Tachshitim, marry me, all the girls of Egypt wanted to marry with Yosef. She ripped off her chain, and she threw it at Yosef. Yosef picks it up and he sees, Bas Yisrael Ksheira, calls her over, done deal. The shidduch is done. He marries her. And they have children, Menashe and Ephraim. When Yaakov Avinu says, Mi Eile, Rashi says, Nistalku men Ruach HaKodesh, but what's Mi Eile lefonecho? Yaakov doesn't know. He says, you hear Mitzrayim, what kind of shidduch did you make? You married a shikta, steht Nigmor in Yevomes, in Daf Kufa mit Beis, Omar Lavrom, lo Tinsev Shivcho, Ve'akum de Lezel Zarocho Basro, if you're going to marry a shikta, the kid is going to become like yours. Who knows? She was never Megairis, no Gulgairis, even though there was a Gairis before Matan Torah. Bonai hem asher nosa li elikim bazeh herolo shtar ksubo. Yosef shows a ksubo, we know. The Gemara in Sanhedrin says that by Akum, there is beulas baal yesh bohem. There's no ksuba, no kiddushin. So he showed him ksuba, and Yaakov, right away, the coin drops. Woo! Where does he have ksuba? He has to marry a Bas Yisrael Ksheira. The only one who could have married is my granddaughter, Osnas. So Yosef is married his niece, Ephras. His shver is Shechem ben Chamor. I got news for you. His shviger is Dina. And from that marriage, Menashe and Ephraim are born. Okay. He tells them, he gives him a bracha. Shikel is Yodov. He tells them, no, he's the Bechor. Why are you making Ephraim before Menashe? Yodati b'ni Yodati. But what is Yodati b'ni Yodati? Ulam ochi v'akoten yigdal mimenu v'zayra yiyem lo yagoy. Says Rashi, she'osid Yehoshua lotzis mimenu she'yanchil ha'soretz v'yilamed Torah l'Yisrael. He says, you know what? His little brother Ephraim is superior to the brother Menashe, because he's going to teach Torah, and he's going to manchil Eretz Yisrael, and the third thing is he's going to bring, the Targum Yonis says, that Yesimcha Elokim b'Ephraim Menashe, that's a bracha you give, Erachanimo b'shas the bris. B'yoyma de mehulso, when you have a bris, that's when you say Yesimcha Elokim b'Ephraim Menashe. Yeshua has those three edges above and beyond any one of the descendants of Yaakov Avinu. He's Melamed Torah L'Am Yisrael. We're going to see the whole Sefer Yeshua is teaching the Torah. He's Manchil HaSoretz because he's the one who's capturing, conquering Eretz Yisrael. And he's the one who was Mechadesh, the mitzvah of Bris Milah, what we spoke about last week, and Give us Ha'arolos, the mitzvah of Priya, which is the ultimate new format of mitzvah samila. And that's what he says, the bracha of Yeshua in Birkas Hamazon, he says, Al brischa shechosamtem Yisraelu, Al eretzchem datoiva, Al teroscha shelimadetonu. Those are the three things that Yeshua was superior, and that's ochi vakoten yigdal mimenu. You know, when Yankov leaves the house of Lavan, he wants to get out of there. It says, Vayika sheyol derocha l'seisef vayemer Lavan shalcheni ve'elcha el mekoimi. Says Rashi, why is Yaakov waiting till Shilchel Shalcheni after Yosef? What happened? Yosef was born, so what? Who cares? So Rashi, Mishenoilad Sitnoi Shel Esav. Shenema v'hoya Yaakov Eish b'seisef lohovo b'seisef l'kash esh b'loloven asher l'merochik. Mishenoilad Yosef botach Yankev b'kodesh Baruch Hu v'rotzo loshuv. Yankov Avinu knows that without the winning card, he is not able to go into Eretz Yisrael. When Yosef is born, which is the Shuvas Hamishkol, to Esav, he has it. He has the recipe. And now, let me go back to Eretz Yisrael. Do you ever think about it? Amalek is coming to Chepe Klal Yisrael. I'm going to tell you a Tosfos that probably most of you never heard of, which is a Chidush Otzum. Why is Amalek, Vayovoy Amalek, Vayilochim im Yisrael Berefidim? Teime, Zok Tosfos, Afenort. Whoever has a Chumash Mikras Deilis could read Das, Keni, Bala, Tosfos, quote unquote. Lama Iche Amalek Lilochim im Yisrael Ad Achshov. V'loibo miyad kshiyodu l'Mitzrayim shalohoyo l'shivim nefesh. Amalek wants to eradicate Klal Yisrael. Why is he waiting for Klal Yisrael to be 2.4 million people coming out of Mitzrayim or whatever the cheshbon is? He had right at the beginning when they get down to Mitzrayim, Shishi v'teisha shivim, kvetching to find Yocheves ben Achoimes, let him take right then and make the Milchama. Zok the daskeni bala tesis, yeshloima, ksheoma HaKadosh Baruch Hu la'Avrom v'avonim v'yinu oisom, ukshemeis Avrom Avinu yihitil achoiv al Yitzchok, ukshemeis Yitzchok hutol al Yaakov u'bonov v'Esav u'bonov, v'omer Amalek arosha b'liboy, im achis es Yaakov v'Zayroi, yeh achoiv mutal olai, sharei Amalek mibonov shel Esav. Lochein hintin at shiyosu b'Mitzrayim shekvar nifro achoiv, ve'ozbo li'ilochem imoyim. Fascinating. Amalek is a lamdan. He's a very sophisticated operator. He says, if I'm going to go ab initio right at the beginning, when Klal Yisrael is going down to Mitzrayim, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Ki geri yezaracha be'eretz le'elohim, you know what's going to happen? I'm exact the same grandson as the kinder of Yaakov Avinu. Yaakov and Esav, who says they're better? So if I'm going to kill Klal Yisrael, I'm going to have to go for 400 years to exile. Not interesting. He waited, he says, till the mortgage is fully paid up. Now he can go to refinance. The mortgage is fully paid up when Klal Yisrael comes out of Mitzrayim. Where does he catch them? Right, 9 days prior to Matan Torah, that's where he starts to chip. You know, the Ramban, if I want to say that, Vayover Amalek, Vaylochem Yisrael Berefidim, Vayomer Moshe Yeshua B'chala, Na'osh Yitzei Yilover Ba'Amalek, V'hoyo kol ha'inyan hazeh, she'oso Moshe Rabbeinu, mipnei shehoyo Amalek goy eison v'chozak me'oid, v'Yisrael eino milom de milchama. Klal Yisrael are not war fighters, v'lo yiro oisem ha'olam, they never really saw a war in their lives. Kasher Yomar, Paninochem Om B'roisem milchama, v'hoyo v'yogeo, al kem pochad mehem, listen to the words of the Ramban. Shepochad Moshe penizgabe becharboy mipnei yoisoi am noichel acherev mibirkas hazokin sheomer le'alchar b'chotichye. He had Pachad Moshe. The Zayda, we have the same grandfather. Amalek is the Einikel of Esav. He's a grandson of Esav. Mibirkas hazokin, when Yankov gave, and he gave the brachas, Al-Char b'chotichye, when Yitzchak gave the brachas to Yaakov and Esav, he told Esav, Al-Char b'chotichye, ki ha-mulchama min ha-mishpocha hazois, hi ha-rishoyna v'achroyna l'Yisrael, ki Amalek mizera Esav, וממנו בוא אלינו המלחמה בראשית הגויים, ומזרע של עשיו הוילונו הגולוס החורבן האחרון. כאשר יאמרו רבותינו שאנחנו היום בגולוס Edom. Anybody knows the Gemara in Rosh Hashanah in the beginning of Avodah Zarah, the Beis Amud Beis, today, till Yemois HaMashiach, Edom, Malchus Edom is intact. So Yeshua, Moshe Rabbeinu knows that the Milchama, the Koyach of the Birkas HaZok and Al-Char B'Chotikye fortifies the strength of Esav and his descendant. Atzoif Kol Aderes till Mashiach, they are the ones. The Ramban calls us V'hiya Milchama u'mizarei shel Esav hayolonu hagolus ve'achurban ha'achron. V'kasher yenutzachu v'yichalesh ve'amu rabim asher itoy nivosh ha'lo'ilom. כאשר אומר ואולו משיב בעציון נשפט את הריסה ואיסר לשם המלוכו. והנה כל אשר עשו מוישה וישוע בראשונה יעשו אליהו ומשיח בן יוסף עם זרם. על כן יסאמץ מוישה בדובר. This is not a battle, the war battle. This is a milchama, the old machlekes, the Baba Rochel, the Baba Leah. This is a machlekes of Yankov and Esav. And this is the everlasting machlekes of the brachas. Who is the Yerush? Who is the one who is taken over? So when Moshe focuses and he takes Yeshua, he is starting a war about who is really the mamshich of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yankov. Who is getting the bracha? And Amalek is a sophisticated operator. He's not coming stam al-chomer, apus the guy. He's coming because he says, you know what? They pay the mortgage, they sat in exile, now let me take over. I'm the next Muhikini in town. That's the machlekes of Amalek and Klal Yisrael. You know why? Says the Medrash, Loma leYeshua. The topic of today's shiur is Loma leYeshua. Says the Medrash, three things. He is the one who is coming, taking Klal Yisrael to Eretz Yisrael, number one. Your grandfather Yosef, he's Mishevet Ephraim. 8 generations to Grandpa Yosef. He is the one who brought him down to Mitzrayim. Now it's your job to take him back to Mitzrayim. Yisrael is right outside when they're going out of Mitzrayim. Dova acher, loma liyeshua. Omar leizkencho, omar esay lekim ani yorei, ubezei ksiv lo yirei lekim. Yovo ben bnoi shel zeh she'omar esay lekim ani yorei, v'yipora mimi she'omar v'lo yirei lekim. In the few moments that we have left, I would like to focus. What is Yovoi ben Bnoi? Yosef had a story with Eshes Potiphar. He had a major nisayon. If you look at the Gemara in Saita, the Gemara in Saita says, Omar Rav Yitzchok Yosef oisifu lo ois hachas, shenemar edus beYehosef somoi betzeisa al Eretz Mitzrayim. He's not called Yosef, it's called Yehosef. Yosef is called Yehosef. Yosef Shekide Shem Shamayim Beseser. The story with Eshes Potiphar was Beseser. Oisifu Olav Oisachas Mishmoisha VaKodesh Baruch Hu. It was a Kiddush Hashem. It was a phenomenal Kiddush Hashem that he wasn't chayt. He did not sing with Eshes Potiphar. He gets a gift. The Ois Hey. Why does he get the Ois Hey? Because the Ois Hey is part of the name of HaKodesh Baruch Hu. You know? Comes generations later, Yehoshua bin Nun goes out with the Meraglim to visit Eretz Yisrael. Vayikra Moshe leYehoshua bin Nun Yehoshua. What's Yehoshua? As we said last week, Ko Yeshiachom Atzas Meraglim. So Yud of Yehoshua is a letter that's being bestowed upon the Einikel of Yosef. Grandpa Yosef, 8 generations ago, receives a gift called Hey, Yoedus beYehosef Samoy, Af Kiddush Hashem. Yeshua, the Einikel, the great-grandchild of Yosef, is getting a gift called the Yud of Yeshua. You know, if you look at the parasha, and this is the Goyen, it's not my word. You look at the parasha, Vayomer ki yod al kesko milchom al Hashem ba'amalek midor dor. At the end of Parshas Amalek, yod al kesko. Zokt Rashi, I'm reading, Yodoi shel HaKodesh Baruch Hu hurmo lishova bekisel liyos lemilchama ve'eva ba'amalek elomim. Kodesh Baruch Hu is announcing an everlasting war with Amalek until Yemois HaMashiach. Umau kes v'lo nemar kisei. A chair is called a kisei. Kes is kes hamalchus. What's case? Zogt Rashi, Hashem nechlak lechetzioi ve'akise nechlak lechetzioi. He says, Kiyod al kesko. He should have said, Kiyod al kise yud kei vov kei. Says Rashi, there is a split. The chair is split and the name is split. The chair is not called kise, it's called a case. The shame is not called yud kei vov kei, but it's called a ko. How do we create this ko, this formula of this shame that can eradicate and tackle Amalek for having us the wars to come? You have to have a joint venture. You take the Yirei Elokim, the one who is Mekadashim Shamayim B'Seisa Yosef, you take the Yehei, you take Yeshua, who is Koyi Shiachim Ma'atas Meraglim, you combine them together to have Kiyod Al Keisko Nuchomo L'Hashem Ba'Amalek. Yeshua, who is the Einikel of Amalek, is being the chosen Einikel, the chosen Talmid of Moshe Rabbeinu, to be the one who is leading, who is taking, who is going to be fighting with Moshe Rabbeinu together, the Milchemes Amalek for generations to come. I mean, we're going to continue learning, but we're about to finish. Chazal tell us, Sholosh mitzvahs nitztavu Yisrael k'shenichnesu la'aretz. There are 3 mitzvahs Klal Yisrael when they came to Eretz Yisrael. L'hamid lo hamelech, l'achizar shel Amalek, v'livnos es beis ha'bechira. Rashi says in Sanhedrin, k'shenichnesu la'aretz mimois Yehoshua binun. The mitzvah of those 3 mitzvahs, even though Amalek is only eradicated later in the Tkufa of Shaul, Amodas Melech is only done via Shmuel when he started Kufas HaMelachim later on in later generation. And Binya Beis HaBchira is only commencement of Beis HaBchira is later on after Gilgal, Shiloi, Noiv, given, then we go to Yerushalayim. But those mitzvahs are given right when Klal Yisrael enters Eretz Yisrael, and they are given to Yehoshua ben Nun, says Rashi. Yeshua is there, Zelba Yeshua. 40 years ago, was chosen by Moshe to be the one who takes this joint venture, this Bazundere, Yod al Kesko, Milchama Hashem Ba'amalek. He is mitzvah right now, at the beginning of Sefer Yeshua, to be the one who is leading. And as Chazal say, we're going to see soon the Medrash, first eradicate the Zion Amamin, the 7 Umayos, and thereafter you'll eradicate Yeshua. So Moshe is here, just to wrap it up. Moshe is here. Moshe is not gone. Moshe was nifter, but he is living over Babua de Babua of someone who is able to make his way to the Torah with the last 8 psukim, one format or another. And he's Mamshich, he is here with him to begin to commence Sefer Yehoshua, to be with Yeshua throughout, to carry out all the tasks that are given to Yeshua ben Nun when he starts going to Eretz Yisrael.